and my gold, not a mite would I withhold, not a mite would I withhold. Take my will and make it thine, it shall be no longer mine. Take my heart, it is thine own, it shall be thy royal throne, it shall be thy royal throne. Take my heart, my Lord, I pour, at thy feet is treasure store. Take myself and I will be ever only all for thee, ever only all for thee. Amen. And so our last hymn is going to be 359, Hark the Voice of Jesus Calling. Sorry, what did I say? 359. So I'm hoping we're going to do this justice with no music, actually. Okay. 359. Okay. Voice of Jesus calling, who will go to work today? Fields are white and harvest waiting, who will bear the sheaves away? Loud and long the Master calleth, rich reward he offers free. Who will answer gladly, saying, Here am I, O Lord, send me. If you cannot cross the ocean and the heathen lands explore, you can find the heathen nearer, you can help them at your door. If you cannot speak like angels, if you cannot preach like Paul, you can tell the love of Jesus, you can say he died for all. If you cannot be the watchman standing high on Zion's wall, pointing out the path to heaven, offering life and peace to all, with your prayers and with your bounties, you can do what heaven demands. You can be like faithful Aaron, holding up the prophet's hands. While the souls of men are dying and the Master calls for you, let none hear you idly saying, there is nothing I can do. Gladly take the task he gives you, let his work your pleasure be. Answer quickly when he calleth, here am I, O Lord, send me. Amen, amen. Thank you so much.
By 6 o'clock in the morning, David was dressed and ready to leave home for kindergarten. His mother handed over his backpack stuffed with textbooks, paper, pencils, and most importantly, breakfast. Breakfast was a delicious chunk of bread. Kindergarten started at 7 o'clock. After a few lessons, it was finally time for breakfast. David eagerly pulled the bread from his backpack. He was hungry. As he prepared to eat, a little boy sitting beside him spoke up. "Would you share with me?" he asked. David saw that the boy didn't have any bread. His mother hadn't packed a breakfast for him. David tore off a piece of the bread. "Here you go," he said. As the boy accepted the bread, another boy came over. "Would you share with me too?" he asked. David saw that this boy also didn't have any bread. His mother also hadn't packed him a breakfast. David tore off another piece of bread. "Here you go," he said. Then a third boy came over. David guessed right away what he wanted. He saw that the boy didn't have any breakfast and must be hungry. Sure enough, the boy had a question. "Would you share with me?" he asked. David didn't have much bread left. He wondered what to do. Then he remembered a Bible story. In the story, God's prophet Elijah was hungry, and he went to a poor mother for help. He asked the mother, "Would you please give me some water and a piece of bread?" However, there was a famine in the land, and the mother only had enough flour and oil to bake one last loaf of bread. She had planned to eat the bread with her son, but shared it with Elijah instead. God rewarded her with a miracle. He provided an unending supply of flour and oil, and the mother was able to bake bread until the famine ended. She and her son never went hungry. David had heard the Bible story in Sabbath school. The Sabbath school teacher had told the children, "You need to share with those who are hungry." David broke the last of his bread in half. "Here you go," he told the hungry boy. David and the three boys nibbled on the delicious bread. It was a good breakfast. David felt good that he had been able to help the other boys. His own breakfast wasn't big, but he didn't get hungry before kindergarten ended and he went home for lunch. The next day, the same thing happened again. When David pulled out his bread for breakfast, other boys asked him to share. David shared again, and again he felt good. After that, children asked David to share his breakfast every day. Today, David is 13 years old, and he has shared his food for 8 years. His kindness has surprised some classmates, and they ask, "Why are you sharing?" David likes to tell them the story of how Jesus shared food with a crowd of thousands of people. "I want to share like Jesus," David says. David's generosity has had a good influence on his classmates. When they saw him share his food, they also started sharing their food with those who had none. "Sometimes I feel hungry because I give away so much food," he says. "But I'm happy because I can follow Jesus' example of sharing. I believe that I'm sharing the light of Jesus with my friends." Part of this quarter's 13th Sabbath offering will help open a Seventh-day Adventist school in David's home country of Cameroon, where children will be able to learn the joy of sharing God's blessings with others. Thank you for planning a generous offering.
Morning, church. Oh, that was bright from this call. I'll try again. I'm not having that. I'll do an hour and 10 minutes to come here. Not for that. Good morning. Morning, church. Good morning. Good morning. It's rubbish outside, and I'm really. Everybody have a bad week this week? Or was it just me? Work was rubbish. I ain't gonna lie to you. It was absolutely terrible this week. But the week's over. And it's a Sabbath, so I ain't got to worry about that until, in fact, I'm on leave next week, so I ain't got to worry about that for 2 weeks, so don't worry about that. But at work this week, we got talking about something which, I don't know how we got talking about it, child development. So I'm going to say a quick prayer, and I'll introduce you to the conversation we're having at work this week. Let's bow our heads quickly. Dear Father, you have a message for us this morning. I pray that message gets through to us. Let us all feel encouraged to contribute and to have our say, and hopefully that message that you have for us will be something we can carry through this week. This is my prayer in the Son's name. Amen. Also, hello, people online. I see, is that Mum in Barbados? It's raining here, Mum. Okay, so yes, at work we were talking about, I don't know why, child development. And we had, you start arguing about a particular point. In fact, I had this debate. I'm always having a debate with somebody in church. We were talking about children, and it was the kids' choir. This person thought it'd be a good idea for their kids to join the kids' choir. And we said, yeah, let them join the kids' choir. And I said, well, I don't want to force them. And then we start debating about, well, is it forcing or is your job to encourage your kids to do things that might broaden their horizons? And so we were talking about child development, and we were talking about that, probably there's two hard parts of parenting. Any parents here? Yeah, wonderful. So, I'm not saying I'm right, but this is what we discussed and we decided. So the two tough things about parenting, what might they be? Just chuck them out. And even if you haven't got any kids, Antonio hasn't got any kids as far as I know, and Aaron, but you can still contribute. So what are the tough things about parenting? Providing for them, yes, that's one, but that's not one of my two. Sorry? Training them to love. That is a big one, but it wasn't one of my two, but that's good. Reprimanding. Yeah, that is a difficult one again, but it wasn't one of my two. Come on, a couple more attempts to see if we can align our brains here. What might there have been? Two difficult things about bringing up kids.
Sorry, just wait a minute, sorry.
You go on.
Yeah, finding the balance between being like a father and a friend.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not one of the two, but it's a good one. Let's have one more. Come on, it's your last chance for someone to hit, be in line with me and my friends at work.
Is it about their protection, their care and protection?
No. So I'll give you a bit of clue about one of them. So one of them, sorry, do you have a contribution there? Sorry?
Show them by example.
Show an example. That is a great one, but it wasn't one of the two. So the two things were letting go. Yep. Particularly you mothers, letting go, yeah, because this little, and then one day, they can do their own thing, and that's hard, isn't it? I suppose the job is to train them to be able to be independent, but that kills sometimes, doesn't it? That's the thing that really, it's Auntie Fenella. An example, make it a short example, Auntie Fenella.
I'll give you an example. Stuart was so helpful at home. When Stuart left, my heart was really... He used to do the washing up. He used to help me so much, and I thought, no.
Did you cry? Okay, so letting go was one of them, and then the child developmental one was about getting them to do things that naturally they don't want to do. And so, for example, he's sitting in the back, and we embarrass him now. So Lara was the kind of baby. Once her nappy was dirty, she was out of there. She was crying, trying to rip it off. Antonio, he'd stay in it, man. Must have been some warmth in and around that. He'd be in his nappy, dirty nappy, all day if you allowed him to. And so changing nappy is one thing, but to potty train, to get someone to sit on a hard, cold bit of plastic is unnatural, particularly for somebody who liked the warmth of a nappy. And so he's not going to do that naturally, is he? And so you have to incentivize him and encourage him and, just because he's got to do something that he's not really going to do naturally. And there's all throughout, I remember, Josie struggling with, giving up breastfeeding, that little closeness. And you see some people breastfeeding until the kids are 5 or whatever because it's a thing that, the mother doesn't want to let go of that closeness. And so that's the hard thing, isn't it, is kind of letting go is one thing and going through those difficult times, but hopefully there will be some reward. Because what we can't have is a group of adults that are wearing nappies and, wanting to be breastfed and so on and so forth. And so, a bit of a strange start to our lesson study, but our lesson study really centers around being out of our comfort zone. And comfort's a good thing, yes? Anybody think is comfort a bad thing in any context? Well, maybe in one context, but generally it's a good thing though, isn't it, yes? It's nice to be comfortable. And I think, family and friends provide that, familiar environments provide that, and it's nice to be comfortable. But the only problem with comfort is we can become too comfortable and don't want to move. And so in my house, we got one of those kind of L-shaped sofas, and there's a spot kind of lined up there, which was been mine for years. Lara now trying to invade my space. But, that's my little spot there. And, but once I sit in that spot, I'm not going anywhere. If the door goes, you rather shout Antonio to come up upstairs and answer the door. I'm not, unless it was a fire, I'm not moving. And so sometimes comfort's a fantastic thing, but sometimes it kind of slows you down a little bit. And when you've got something to do, being too comfortable might not be an ideal thing. And so I know Abraham was spoke about a lot in the lesson, but can anybody think of people in the Bible that were asked to do things that they didn't want to do or hadn't planned to do? Just throw them out there. Okay, Jonah. So somebody just tell us briefly the Jonah situation for those that don't know much about Jonah. Okay, so Moses in a second. So what was Jonah's thing he had to do? That's all right.
Okay, so Jonah was just sort of minding his own business, and he was then called by God to go to the city of Nineveh to preach the word, to save them. He didn't want to go, so he went in the opposite direction. And then finally,